The team at That One Media is based in the wonderful state of California with a wonderful governor by the name of Gavin Newsom. Now, if you aren't from California, the name Newsom is probably familiar to you since this man keeps making the headlines. And no, it isn't because of his impeccable grace, beautiful hair, or his ability to talk for long periods of times without actually saying anything.
Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up and walked back, got in my car, and drove back to my house.
Governor Newsom honestly is living in a different world.
But he's been making the news because he is one of the more popular politicians who have created rules that they have gone directly against. So in this video, we'll be looking briefly at the hypocrisy of Newsom, specifically in regards to this global pandemic. Newsom has been governor of California since 2019. Newsom has made it clear that he plans on making California something to be proud of, and that we are to combat the administration, which is hostile, which is Trump's administration according to him, to our state's values. In his inaugural address, he said, "There is an administration in Washington hostile to California's values and interests. California has always helped write America's future, and we know the decisions we make would be important at any time, but what we do today is even more consequential because of what's happening in our country. People's lives, freedom, security, the water we drink, the air we breathe, they all hang in the balance. The country is watching us. The world is waiting on us. The future depends on us, and we will seize this moment." When the pandemic first hit, California was one of the first states to shut down. In early March, Newsom proclaimed a state of emergency in California. In doing this, he made it so that all residents must heed any orders from state and local public health officials. The governor also issued a stay-at-home order in the month of March. The state was also forced to cancel sporting events such as March Madness and to close Disney parks and other amusement parks. Schools were closed, restaurants, gyms, health clubs, theaters were forced to close. On top of the stay-at-home order, if violated, people could face a misdemeanor with up to $1,000 in fines or 6-month imprisonment. People were ordered to shelter in place, which was supposed to end mid-June but continued since the pandemic continued. Churches were forced to shut down, singing in churches were banned, inside worship was banned, bars, wineries were closed. California became a model state of how to close down everything and potentially ruin all businesses. What really upset California was not so much the restrictions, but the lack of the governor to follow his own guidelines. Other governors such as Cuomo and Whitmer also have failed to follow their own rules, but Newsom once again became a model of how to break every rule that he implements. An example of this hypocrisy is a group co-founded by Newsom that operates wineries in Napa was able to remain open and accept reservations while other wineries, bars, and breweries were ordered to close. Newsom has recently made headlines again after getting caught breaking his rules again. Earlier this month, Newsom issued rules and regulations for celebrating the holidays. These rules included eating outdoors, remaining 6 feet apart, only participating in small gatherings with a max of 3 different households. Also, currently in many counties in California, dining indoors is still restricted. The reason I mention these rules is because recently Newsom was caught dining with at least 12 people in Napa Valley on November the 6th.
And as soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated.
When addressed about his outing, he simply said it was a mistake and attempted to make his outing seem as though it was outdoors, when it was actually in fact indoors as photos show.
Chose to sit there with my wife and a number of other couples that were outside the household. And you can quibble about the guidelines, et cetera, but the spirit.
Also, interestingly, was Newsom was seen relatively close to these other individuals. Among these other individuals were officials of the California Medical Association. So health officials who are ordering us to stay home for most of our families these coming holidays, to dine indoors, to not be near people that are non-family members, not go out if it's not essential, or not to celebrate our celebrations, are out there celebrating with people who are not their families in close proximity to each other while indoors. Hypocrisy at its finest. You know what? Californians are easygoing. We usually end up caving to authority. But our issue with Newsom is he creates rules and regulations that a person can be fined or jailed for violating, and he is out there breaking them without a concern on his mind. It's almost as though he's not even trying to hide it. He tells us Californians that if our Thanksgiving dinner is too big, that the police and health officials are ordered to come and break it up. But when questioned about his own dining experience this month, he said, "I should have left." No, Newsom, you should have shut down the party just like how you plan to shut down our own personal gatherings. Hypocrisy doesn't really go with your hair gel, Newsom. Consider changing one or the other. And to my fellow Californians who are tired of the hypocrisy and the dictator that is Newsom, there's a link down below where you can sign a Recall Newsom petition.